Hello friends, it's Atif Sheikh here and welcome to the session 3 of Railway Engineering. In today's session, we are going to talk about the railway gauges. So, railway gauge is simply a horizontal distance between the inner parts of the rail. In European countries, the gauge is measured between the inner faces of the two rails at a point 14 mm below the top surface of the rail. In lesson number 2, you must have learned about the different types of gauges. There are variety of gauges available in the world. In India, mainly 3 gauges are quite famous. The first one is the broad gauge, having a width of 1.676 meter. Second one is the narrow gauge, having a width of 0.767 meter, and the meter gauge, having the width of 1 meter. You can learn more things about the gauges in lesson number 2. There are again 2 different kind of gauges like loading gauge and structure gauge, provided in completely different context. The structure gauge, also known as the construction gauge, it sets the dimension within which no outside structure may protrude. It prescribes the minimum height and width distances between the structure and the track center. On the other hand, the loading gauge sets the dimension beyond which no part of the cargo should protrude. It prescribes the maximum width and height of the wagon or a cargo. One should remember that all these maximum dimensions are with respect to the track center. However, in practice, the above mentioned definitions are applied with due consideration given to the basic principle of physics regarding the vehicle movement. Mostly at the curves where the central part of the vehicle tends to be pushed inward while the ends and corner of the vehicle tends to be pushed outwards. So to allow the vertical and the lateral movement of the wagon due to the track irregularities or the vehicle dynamics on the curve, a clearance of 40 cm should be kept between the outside dimension of the wagon and its loading, of course, and the inside dimension of any structure. The maximum dimensions of the vehicles allowed by the Indian Railways are as follows. The maximum width allowed is 3.25 meter. The maximum height allowed at the track center is 4.14 meter, while the maximum height allowed above the rail level is 3.53 meter. I hope through this video I have clearly explained what is meant by construction gauge, what is meant by loading gauge, what are their uses, and what are the maximum dimensions permitted by the Indian Railway. Thanks for watching.